Why don't we go live?
We're live.
All right, welcome everybody. It's Thursday, April 9th. This is Fast Energy and Digital Infrastructure. And we are here this morning to discuss and walk through an amendment to S202 with Legislative Council. And then after that, I think we'll just kind of roll right into committee discussion, markup, and a possible straw poll on S130A. And just as a reminder to the universe, S202 is a bill that came over from the Senate that will be taking a vote on at some point, but we have some important testimony next week that we're waiting on. And then S138, we're actually going to do a straw poll, and then that language is going to get turned over to the House Commerce Committee and be part of the broader economic development bill that's moving through the legislature this year, which I think is S327. Anyway, so I'm Rep. Kathleen James from Manchester.
Scott Campbell from St. John Ferry. Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2. Chris Morrow, Wyndham Windsor Many. Michael Sackman, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howard, Robin 4.
Eric Torrey, Washington 2.
Great. And let's see, joining us in the room.
Gabrielle Molina, Delgado.
Super. All right. Over to you.
Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Council. So last week, you walked through S202 for markup. And so today, S202 Amendment Draft 1.1 is posted under my name. It has the changes that you discussed highlighted in yellow. I'm not sure it captures all of the changes you discussed, but please let me know as we go. So page 1, section 1 is amending the definition section to define what we're talking about here. And so last week you discussed changing the name of these devices from portable solar energy generation device to plug-in photovoltaic device, as well as removing the word movable from line 12.
Can you remind me what the deal is with changing the name of Phil? Can we just change the name, or is there a whole? I remember somebody impediment to that, or no?
No, you have the authority to change the name of the bill, and that is at the end. I included at on the very last page. So yes, you can change the name of a bill. So there can be issues if you're fully if you're following something out, putting something else in it and changing the name, that can be challenged for germaneness potentially on the floor. However, it still happens all the time. So it is a procedure you can use.
Okay. So
Is germane only subject to challenge? In other words, you can change anything you want, but it doesn't get challenged.
Correct. You also can vote to overrule an amendment, a germaneness determination and find it germane.
But that's a different.
Yeah. But yes, something is considered not germane until someone actually challenges.
Sorry.
Rep. Morrow, are you thinking we should change the name of the bill to match? I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. Yeah. Well, it is changed.
And she has.
Oh, it's already in there. I'm sorry. I thought you said we would do that at the end. So
No, it's on the last page. And you also don't have to change the name if you don't want to.
okay. All righty. And as I'm remembering changing the name or changing the definition throughout made it match with the UL 3700 language, I guess, just to be tidy. And also there had been sort of a out of left field concern about, which may or may not be accurate, but about qualifying for maybe qualifying for federal tax credits. So if that is a thing, I guess we've fixed that too.
Although this does, since we're talking about this, it should refer to portable solar somewhere as so known as, sometimes as something like that. Just do that so that people know. Or is that just too redundant and too ridiculous?
I think it's
Too redundant.
the R&R. Okay, that's me.
All right, so those are the only changes to the definition section. I don't know if you want to walk through the rest of that. Otherwise, there are more changes in section 2. So on page 2, section 2, so the title of this section is being changed to match the new name. So plug-in photovoltaic devices. A customer may install one or more plug-in photovoltaic devices per electric meter if the devices have a maximum combined inverter capacity of not more than 1,200 watts. Plug-in photovoltaic devices shall only be connected to systems using smart meters. A customer shall ensure a device is temporarily but securely attached to the roof or to the ground or a structure.
Like that?
Subsection B, the installation of a plug-in photovoltaic device that complies with subsection A shall not be required to comply with the requirements of section 248 of this chapter, shall not be required to obtain an interconnection agreement with an electric distribution company, and shall not otherwise be subject to the jurisdiction of the Public Utility Commission.
That was at the request of the,
GMP, I think. What?
and the department.
An electric distribution company shall not require a customer using a plug-in photovoltaic device that complies with subsection A to obtain the company's approval before installing or using the device, pay any fee or charge related to the installation of the device, or install any additional controls or equipment beyond what is integrated into the device. Okay. Subsection D is new at the bottom of page 2. Nothing in this section shall prevent an electric distribution company from recovering costs associated with the overloading of the service provided due to the presence of a plug-in photovoltaic device.
Would this be where we can interject some landlord protection language?
Where'd we put the landlord stuff? The municipal I don't know.
Landlords have their own chapter in Title 27. So I guess the question is what exactly you're going to ask for, and then what it may make sense to put in the landlord statutes.
So we heard testimony from the Landlords Association yesterday, and they're asking for permissions. That a person who wants to install these has to have permission from the landlord. We haven't really talked about it in committee, but I feel strongly that we need to have something like that in.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're waiting for, I talked to them yesterday. And
Send some like return.
I cleaned out my email this morning. So she hasn't sent it yet, but she's going to send written testimony and suggested language just for Ellen to look at. So maybe that's just to put a pin in it, and wait to get their written testimony. And then Ellen can let us know what section of statute she thinks it should go in, but let's also talk about, so I agree. I think landlord should have to give permission. Yeah, Rev. Kleppner?
And completely agree with this technology we are contemplating today. I just wonder about in the future. When it gets to be more like an appliance, you can just plug into a standard wall outlet in a standard plug, and if they solve all the safety issues, do we want to require landlord permission for that?
That is a decision for future legislature. Like, I don't think we can see around that corner right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at that point, I had whoever's here,
They'll amend the legislation.
yeah,
to
somebody will
accommodate the new tech.
come and say,
Yeah.
these, believe me, someone will let us,
They will let
someone will let
them know.
them know.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I have a question about this. Were we talking about landlord? Yeah.
Does anybody have anything more? Are we in unanimity about landlord permission?
Well, did you want to talk about how it would go? Personally, if we could look through the Virginia law, if you want to talk about it more, or just leave it. For that.
Well, she picked out a sentence or two,
Yeah.
the woman
Yeah,
from the landlord's association.
so
Which
we can even,
I think we should
just wait.
pull that out and discuss that, because I think it was pretty good.
I thought Madam Chair had suggested that we talk about it, but
Do we have that language?
no,
Mhm.
She,
not yet.
she didn't email it yet? No,
The landlord,
And it was like,
Angela,
yeah,
didn't send her written testimony yet.
okay,
And she was going to look at the Virginia law, submit written testimony, and suggest language that we could then forward to Ellen and say, what do you think?
right, basically, that was maybe discussion on that.
Yeah, so I was thinking we could just wait when put a pin in it, and it'll be here soon. I thought she was gonna send it yesterday, and then we could
Yeah.
put that in our final markup.
Sorry, I thought you said you wanted to talk about it now. Okay.
I might have said that, but that's not what I meant.
So I don't really understand section D, so I mean, these panels aren't gonna blow out any transformer on the electrical grid. They don't have that kind of juice. I mean, they wouldn't even blow out regular panel in the house. They might blow out a circuit if it gets overloaded. So I'm just, where did this, I don't remember where this kind of came from.
GMP,
Is this just a blanket liability kind of thing? Nothing in this section should.
Gabrielle, do you wanna, I think was this joint suggested language from GMP and VEC?
Correct.
Do you wanna,
Costs associated with overloading
Can you elaborate?
service by the due to the presence. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but it just seems highly improbable. But
I thought basically about if there's an issue on the utility side, the customer can pay for the cost.
right,
Yeah, reading that wrong.
okay,
I,
it's fine. I mean,
I don't, to Chris's point, I don't see where 10 amps at 120 volts is going to affect anything other than in that local circuit. So I
guess they just wanted to be super cautious.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so is everybody okay with leaving that in? I am. I mean, if GMP and VEC, if it makes them feel better.
well, stops the telephone calls from repeating.
Yes,
Repetitive, it stops the repetitive, what I call answer shopping.
right.
Keep calling until they get the answer they want.
Okay.
On to page 3. A customer with a net metering system shall not also install a plug-in photovoltaic device. A plug-in photovoltaic device shall not be eligible for net metering. Generation exported to the grid by a plug-in photovoltaic device shall not be compensated by an electric distribution company.
So definition of net generating is on a month-to-month basis, excess generation gets compensated. But if somebody, we just saw a device, if it generates 8 kilowatt hours noon to 4, but they only used 4, the meter still registers the backflow and they get the 4 kilowatt hours back 4 to midnight when they use it in the same billing cycle. So did I make my question clear?
No, I didn't hear a question.
So
But this is saying that they're not allowed to have a photovoltaic device if they have a net metering agreement.
right, but where it wasn't compensated shall not be compensated by the electric company, line 4.
Yes.
So there's no accounting changing hands, but if the unit generates more than the base load for the house, generates 8 kW during the day, but they only use 4 during the day, the meter rolls backwards, and when they use that other 4 kilowatt hours till 8 p.m., they're 0. So if they generate at a period of time, they're generating more than they're using. as long as it's within the same billing cycle, they break even.
That is how it works. But,
Wow.
Well, they wanted this language.
My understanding was the intent was that the consumer would not get compensated for any power that goes in the grid.
No accounting gets,
Right.
no credit for a kilowatt hour like you get with that metering end of the month.
But you're saying it will run the meter
But
backwards.
if you don't, when I was in the industry and you suspected somebody of fiddling, you put in a special meter that was called detented. So it wouldn't run the meter backwards. So you could push all the electricity back into the system, but the meter didn't roll backward. It's equivalent of you can't put your car in reverse and jack it up and get the odometer to read backward.
Yeah.
I think it takes care of itself.
I don't see any
It's a
suggestion. I don't see any need to change the language though. Okay, great.
And then subdivision F, again, just changes, the reference to plug-in photovoltaic device. And then in a public building shall be used in a manner that complies with all applicable requirements of the most recent building and fire safety code. In
Excuse
the
me.
last two sections, the section related to, towns can't, restrict them by bylaw. Again, the title, the name was changed to plug-in photovoltaic. So towns can't prohibit it in their zoning. And then section 4 is about, deed restrictions and covenants. Again, you can't add a prohibition of deed restriction for a plug-in photovoltaic device.
Okay,
And then on the last page, as was mentioned, on line 5, on page 5, after the passage. And that after passage, the title of the bill be amended to read and actually to plug in photovoltaic devices.
okay.
You don't have to include that if you don't want to, but I thought you might want to.
Yeah, why not?
So if you have a new development that you're putting in, and you restrict that you can't hang your laundry out in your protective covenants, you're prohibited from putting portable photovoltaic in those protective covenants.
Correct. So there's already this provision that prevents developers from putting in deed restrictions that prevent clotheslines. So it's adding to that section that you can also prohibit in the deed restriction of photovoltaic device.
Okay, no, it's a game changer.
This is a statute that's existed for a while.
Well, no,
So-
but in my generation, the
Okay.
can't hang out your laundry deed restrictions were in there. I didn't know that they had been legislation that the new developments prohibit laundry.
Yes.
I live in an HOA.
ISO New England's concerns.
So ISO New England's concerns, to me are a question for UL. Because, well, a couple things. When we talked to ISO, I think some of their concerns stem from the fact that they thought there was still a white paper and no certification, and that's kind of outdated info. But the key thing is that ISO's concerns were that IEEE 30 whatever and the UL 70 whatever. And those are on the list that we sent to UL. And an update from this morning, and I didn't forward it to the whole committee yet because we can't open the PDF. But Megan from UL wrote back. They're coming in for testimony next week. She has a complete list of like, does UL cover? Boom, 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 boom. And she wrote back and said, yes, UL covers all these things. ISO's 2 things were on that list. And then she attached the actual UL 3700, but none of us can open it.
Because you didn't pay for it.
No, I think, I'm not sure why. It's locked or
Yeah.
it took me to some weird page. But anyway, so I wasn't going to send it to the committee until we had the proper attachment. And obviously, well, we now have in writing, UL covers all this, but they're coming in on Wednesday and we can like go down the line. So that's where I think things stand with the ISO.
I think ISO's concerns are if there's some huge uptake in.
Yeah,
Well, that's a more generic concern. I mean, it also includes rooftop solar and also
Yeah.
all intermittent distributed generation. And actually batteries too, as far as that goes. Anything is connected to the grid that feeds the grid that then trips off when there's an interruption of grid power, creates a gap between the load that ISO was seeing before the power interruption, and the load that we see immediately after. So that's a bigger question, it seems to me, that they're studying. They're gonna have to figure out if there's a technical fix for this.
oh, and then, okay, so loose ends. We're waiting for UL to resend the PDF, and Megan just wrote back and 2 seconds ago and asked if anybody else could not open it, and I confirmed that I could also not open it. So we're waiting on UL. That'll be the final to see if there's anything. In fact, I'll send them this draft. Make sure they're looking at the latest and greatest. So waiting on UL, I think that's really important. We're waiting for written testimony from the landlords, which should be coming imminently. And it sounds like when it arrives, I'll forward it to the committee. Everybody can take a look at it. I'll copy Ellen, and next round of markup, we can decide if sounds like we've already decided to include it. It'll just be like how Ellen words it and what section of statute she puts it in. And then the insurance agents. Wait, I thought Jamie Fian was coming.
Yes.
Oh, great. It's coming at 10:30. Perfect. And I think that's it on the plug-in solar part. Okay, so. All right, Alex, can you send this to Ellen's latest draft to Megan at UL? And say, FYI, here's the most recent version of the bill. That's what we'll need you guys to comment on. And be specific with her that we're going to be working off our list of questions, but that also we want to make sure that this exact language, they don't see anything that needs to be added. Okay. Okay. Right. S-138. Okay.
Oh, you don't have a witness in between?
I think we have Peter. Oh, Peter.
We do.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Using an old agenda.
Forget.
Haven't spent very much time for this year, so I understand.
All right. First of all, my new vow to myself and to all. Have you prepared written testimony?
I have not.
Okay, I need you to do that, please, Peter, seriously. So after you're done today, we're experiencing gaps in our record. And when we go back to write our floor reports and review testimony and try to remember what everybody said 2 weeks ago, it's not great. And so I promised myself and everyone that I'm going to try to track down on that. So it can be brief, but written testimony will be strongly recommended.
Understood, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I gotta start cracking the whip.
If you're gonna hold somebody accountable, you might as well start looking at that story. It'd be better if you had an audience for it. So, I'll go spread the word that,
Peter, it's
That
the price
no
of
more-
a mug.
Yeah, Peter already got his mug, right?
Not a big one.
no,
All right.
I mean, see how it is.
I got it. Here's my, we're gonna have to
Wait, what?
wash.
Yeah. Well, you have to wait and see what he says first.
Yeah.
Before he gets the.
There are no more mugs in boxes. I'm sorry to say, but this has only been used for water. I will scrub it vigorously and award it to you. You've definitely hit the threshold.
I think that's, it's like a collector's item at some point. For the record, Peter Walk, Managing Director of McKinsey, Vermont. I'm here to talk to you about the commercial PACE bill at the request of the chair. I believe there were some questions about program administration.
Yes.
I will admit to not having given this bill much attention because we haven't, up until sort of the end of the Senate side, when we got sort of thrown in there as a list of people that should be consulted, we haven't been involved. What I can speak to is Efficiency Vermont's experience with the residential PACE program that had died on the vine 10 plus years ago.
Right.
Which was, we were the program administrators for, and which required every municipality that wanted to do it to pass an ordinance accordingly. And honestly, there was no demand for it. And so I am curious what the problem we're trying to solve for here is, because what came out of that process was the development of what was originally titled the Heat Saver Loan Program, which the Public Service Department started and then asked us to carry on as part of our EDU activity. We have been doing that for a while. We partner with local financial institutions and provide loan guarantees and rate buy downs to those financial institutions so that people can finance the remainder of their projects not covered through incentives. It's very effective. It works really well. It was determined to be a much less risky proposition for the homeowners because it's repayment, a lack of repayment. It doesn't lead to foreclosure of your property, as could have happened under the residential PACE program. And I understand this is a much lighter version of that, where a municipality would have, to do it proactively based on interest, assuming from a project. I am curious what the demand is. This seems more like an authorizing effort, but Efficiency Vermont does not have any desire to be a program administrator for this program, as we put a lot of effort into helping communities prepare for the flood of PACE projects that were going to come their way that did not materialize. And I understand this would be more of a sort of contractual basis directly with a community. But that's not where our best work is done, and would prefer not to be on the list of potential program administrators.
Okay, I can catch you up a little bit. So yeah, what we're hearing from everybody is there's a lot of enthusiasm and kind of unanimity around PACE, CPACE, and we've been told by everyone to just forget our PACE. This is nothing like it, and it won't be anything like it. So I will just pass that world wisdom along to you. But so in other states that have it, so we would be, I think, the 40th state to authorize or enable CPACE. And it would be, as you said, a lot lighter touch. So municipalities that were really interested in doing this, the select board could authorize it. From the testimony we've taken, it sounds like that might often come at the request of a commercial property that really thinks they can benefit from CPACE. So we've had some economic development folks in and the chamber in saying, like, here's a property, like there's one in Springfield that we think could really benefit from CPACE funding, and here's how it helped the project pencil out. And so anecdotally, anyway, it sounds to us like it probably wouldn't be that many towns or that many projects, but that it could be a helpful economic development and financing tool in the few towns for the few projects that want it. So then the question comes, like, all right, well, who's going to administer it? And in the other states we've looked at, which really were just kind of surrounding New York, Connecticut, and Maine, they have a green bank, all of them, but the Efficiency Vermont type, the Efficiency Vermont type entity is vetting and approving a list of kind of okay lenders. So we've heard testimony from 2 different national companies that specialize in this space. They only do CPACE lending. And then Vita's super pumped to try to offer these loans. So what a third party administrator could look like would be contracted with the town that decides to do this, maybe approving a short list of lenders. Didn't we say that the lender itself would do all the loan underwriting and origination, and then there would be some kind of role to play in parsing out the payments, just as they hit the municipality, maybe like this much goes to property taxes and this much goes to Castle Green. So, of course, everyone is suggesting that efficiency Vermont do that. What's currently in the bill is that, I'm almost done, is that DFR convene a little working group with you, Vita, a couple others, and come back with recommendations. I think that's everything.
Thank you for that quick synopsis of your testimony to date, and I apologize for being a little behind the times. I was not, we have not paid much attention to it because we didn't think we were going to be involved.
Exactly. You were looking the other way, and that's why you're now the third party administrator. Congratulations.
That's why you get the mud.
That's right.
I haven't actually gotten the money.
Right. No, I was kidding, but there is a question of, I think the concern is that this is probably not the right fit for an individual municipality to take on.
I understand that for sure. We also aren't really financing arms, and our ability to vet lending institutions is not, we do we do the occasional RFP for a lending partner for the home energy loan and the business energy loan that is available now to any Vermont business who wants to take it on. But we are vetting the sort of financial credibility that feels much more like a DFR level analysis.
Okay.
And they probably don't want to do it from a staffing perspective.
Nobody wants to.
Nobody wants to. So I guess I just want to point out a couple things. One is the nexus to EVT is that there is some analysis of payback of what the efficiency measures will provide in terms of payback. And
right, and what I understand that from reading the bill quickly just now, the onus is on the project and to be able to do that. Certainly, if they want to come in and do, but I'm not sure what that has to do with the program administrator.
Well, it's a certain, I guess, a certain amount of oversight. But I mean, that's what seems to struck me as the nexus. I mean, I wonder why EVT would do this too. It seems like sort of more of a financial institution kind of project. But so that's one thing. And the other thing about CPACE versus residential PACE is that this would be utilized by developers or basically developers, I guess, doing projects that already have a stack of financing pieces. This would be just another piece of that. So you would be, or the CPACE program would be dealing with a lot more savvy people than, and in terms of financial, ability to get things than the base was. So that is also said to me that it's more likely to be a viable program.
I mean, I would be very pleased if it was a fully viable program. That doesn't change the fact that I don't think there's a nexus for Efficiency Vermont to be the program administrator. Right? The skills you are looking for are not the ones that we hold. And that we certainly will be involved from an incentive perspective, right? Whether it's new construction or revisiting an existing property, we'll have that involvement, and certainly we'll do a lot of engineering work that will inform the project and can help inform the lender. But in terms of program administration, that's much more of a sort of financial nuts and bolts piece that should not exist at Efficiency Vermont.
And I wasn't trying to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Rep Bailey?
Yeah, could you just summarize again what you said, what EVT's doing in place of our pace that seems to be working?
Sure. So after the RPACE program and the sort of lack of uptake,
Yeah,
I still think there are a few people repaying their financing still, but that's about it. The Public Service Department launched a program trying to fill what the void was in terms of financing, and that was the Heat Saver Loan Program, which they then conveyed to us, and it's known as the Home Energy Loan Program. We work through local partners. In the past, we've done East Rise, Opportunities Credit Union, and the like, to have folks be able to finance either at low or no cost financing for projects that they want, where our incentives do not cover the full cost of those projects. A lot of weatherization projects go through there. We have now coupled that with something that we started during the flood recovery that we did in partnership with East Rise and the Community Foundation, where the Community Foundation parked a bunch of their flood donation money in East Rise, and we drew down on that to pay contractors upfront for the work to be done, so that our rebates repaid that fund, so that people didn't have to carry any of those costs or take a loan to carry those costs if they were going to get a rebate back. We've continued that forward because we understand the challenge of a rebate model, right? For low and moderate income funders, it's really hard to find the upfront cash, even knowing you're going to get a large incentive for funds. And it's relatively new in the process of our normal regulated funding, but that's the kind of creativity we try to bring to bear. But we're not embedding financial institutions. We're not doing things of that nature. And so I appreciate that you all can see the difference there.
Do you have anything in commercial side? Same as the home?
You have a business energy loan program, yes.
Differences or similarities between the CPACE and your program?
It's filling a need to cover project costs. I think we have seen less uptake in the business energy loan program. And when we've asked customers generally, most of them have relationships with lending institutions that they prefer to work with. And so there's less of a demand in that space. We do have, I think we do a few dozen a year or something like that of loans there, whereas the home energy loan is much more impactful.
What are your rates?
For the business energy loan program, I'd have to look those up for you. I could happily do that and provide it with my best luck.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I would appreciate that. No, that I'm curious, because the other thing we're hearing about CPACE is that just because of the way it's structured, they can offer longer payback time and lower rates. I think they were saying 4.5%.
Yeah.
Rep Kleckner.
And a couple questions, aside from the actual rate, your business program, are the rates at market or are they below market?
Let me do that research and get back to you. I
Okay.
believe they're below market, but I would need to double check that.
So I did find the language in statute about the group that DFR is going to convene to sort this out. I just want to run it by you and see if there's anyone else you would suggest be on the list. DFR shall consult with relevant stakeholders, including the League of Cities and Towns, VEDA, Efficiency Vermont, and agencies from other states with CPACE programs in order to identify appropriate entities to serve as program administrators. So anyone else you can think of off the top of your head who should be part of that group?
What do you think about Betsy? They do CHIP, Vermont Economic Progress.
Yeah.
They do CHIP, Veggie, and TIF.
Okay. Yeah, and I think those are other financing tools, right? For the most part, and funding tools. I think about the relationship that communities have and the projects have with RDCs. Could be another spot to go if you had that level of relationship. with, the regional RDC, if it's a relatively low touch administrative process, and they're getting that sort of process local to the area, that could be effective as well. I don't like to sign other people up for work, but those are some of the general sort of thoughts that I have about folks who are closer to that side of things. But I think,
All right, so I think we should add Betsy.
Yeah. I mean, there is the option of having a third party administrator as well that is not a state entity.
Mhm.
There are entities that exist that already, as we heard in legislature, administer these.
Yeah.
So we could,
So they'd be something that this little working group would look at, right?
Was the buildup of our base similar to what this is stating, how, it's gonna be a good thing, it's gonna be great, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be the same thing where our base kind of fell and C base is gonna fall as well? Or do you think that there is a chance there's a better uptake in C base versus the R base programs?
I think the primary difference that we saw was that there had to be, for any resident to take it on, each individual community had to do a significantly more onerous tasks than is in this piece. And that made it very challenging. And when you have small communities with one full-time employee, that's too much to ask. The fact that this would be much more of a joint action between the project and the town to sort of make sure that there was interest first before doing that work feels like you're enabling a good thing to happen if there's demand for it. Our pace was not successful.
I think the thought with CPACE is that, I mean, if I run a select board anyway, I don't think I would just run out and authorize a CPACE district unless a commercial project had approached me. I don't know, maybe I would, probably not.
Well, that Springfield was a typical project, and he's gonna take money from many sources. My question is, which one is over the limits that project fails? And with this CPACE program, that lender has first claim in perpetuity because he has title to the land in his assessment foreclosure. And you mentioned about tax payment. I was under the understanding that taxes are one envelope, junior, senior to this CPACE. So property taxes are first, CPACE assessment is second, and then whatever other lenders are down the line.
So both property taxpayers and the lender would be made whole.
Pardon?
So both property taxpayers and the lender would be made whole.
No, the taxpayers would be made whole first.
Right, but
And
I'm just saying,
the administrator,
nobody gets ripped off here.
we don't know yet.
but it seems like this has been proven in other states, right? It's an over a $1 billion industry already, right? That
Yeah.
we heard. So it's,
But they're not in there long enough that anybody is not. The projects are still
right.
under construction or are not in the cases of not getting their payments yet. And
Well, no, that's not
Right.
true. Connecticut was,
I think there's a small percentage that.
He said there's under 1%, right? Way under 1%, right?
yeah, default
Oh,
default is under 1%.
And it looks like California's program was the launch, and they launched in 2008. So they've been for 18 years in.
And Connecticut was, I did want some of this. I think programs are well established in other states. Okay. Great. Any other questions for Director Wolf?
Just wondering when we're gonna get the written test.
Me too.
I'm pretty sure AI was drafting it while we were speaking. I'll just take the transcript of the YouTube and copy and paste the Word document and call it good.
We actually have, that's what pushed us over the edge. We actually have a legislative intern going back and transcribing oral testimony from a couple weeks ago for us because we had to move away from a bill. We've returned to it. And that was when I realized that I needed to be mean mom.
I am more than happy to provide short written testimony.
be
And
short.
I will hit the business energy loan rates and how it relates to market rate and what the payback terms are. So you can evaluate that.
Great. Okay. Can we take a 5-minute break and then come back with Ellen?
And
Okay, we can go